great African leaders called nationalists. Nationalists are people who fought for the independence of their country. That is why nationalism is a patriotic sentiment on the part of a group of individuals who seek their rights to live under the government of their own makings with a desire to achieve full political, social, and economic freedoms. Before the coming of the Europeans, African people were living large, enjoying their resources, enjoying their lands, engaged in agriculture, fertile and beautiful land, strong men and women. But when they came, they took all our natural resources. They took our strong men and women to the New World to work as slaves. Then as time goes on, then came our great African leaders called nationalists. Nationalists were those people who struggled or who fought for the independence of their country. Along the coast, some were killed. Along the coast, some were humiliated. Along the coast, some were maltreated. We have many Africans who fought for the independence of their countries. Those are called patriots. Those are called nationalists. Before the Gambia as country gained its political independence in 1965, there was colonialism. We have been colonized for a period of 400 years. Difficulties, hardships, high standard of living, high payment of tax. Our people were deprived from taking part in Gambian politics. And among those people, the people that came part there, Sada Kairaba Jawara, the first Prime Minister and the first President of the Republic of the Gambia, this great man called Sir Dawda. And I'll give you the profile of this great man, Sir Dawda. The profile of this great man called Sir Dawda. Sir Dawda was not only a politician, but he was an elder statesman. He was an elder statesman, respected to the core, because he fought his struggle for independence of this country. That's why at some point he and some of these Gambians had to travel all the way to England for constitutional discussion, and of course for the discussion leading to the granting of Gambia's independence. That is why on the 18th of November 1965, the Gambia became a sovereign independent African state, and on the 24th of April 1970, Kairaba Jawara became the president, and he ruled this country for a period of 32 years, 3 decades. Now to the profile of this elder statesman called Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. Kairaba Jawara was born in 1924 at Barajali. He was brought up in Batos in a prominent Muslim family. He attended Mohammedan school in Batos, and Batos was the capital Batos was the place where the governor was residing, Governor Sir Charles McCarthy. It was an island captured by the British and named as Batos, but it was originally called Banjulu. So Kairaba Jawara, before independence, he was brought up in Batos and he attended Mohammedan school. He later proceeded to the Methodist Boys High School, and from there he studied 2 years nursing at the Royal Victoria Hospital. In 1947, he traveled to the Achimota College in Ghana to learn nursing. In 1948, he also traveled to the Glasgow University, or he studied at the Glasgow University. In 1955, he got married to the daughter of John Mahoney. And the same 1945, he also converted into Christianity, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. And Kairaba Jawara returned back and also continued in the Department of Veterinary Service. In 1959, he was handed a party called the People Progressive Party by Sanjali Buja. And Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara came into the limelight of the Gambian history when he was handed a party called People Protectorate Party. During the colonial period, the Gambians who were working in Batos at that time, they decided to form an organization called Lillahi wa Rasuli. It means a charitable organization led by Sanjali Buja, a labor contractor. At some point, the organization was transformed into a political party. And the party also was led by Sanjali Bojang, and that party was only meant for the people at the protectorate at that time, meaning people at the provinces at that time during the colonial period. That's why it was called the People Progressive Party. The party was unable to do more in Gambian politics at that time. That's why in 1959, the party was handed over to Kairaba Jawara because of his education, because of his work experience and ethic. When he took over the party, the first thing that he did was he changed the name of the party from People Protectorate Party to People Progressive Party to better capture the image of the party to national level. And in 1960 election, Kairaba Jawara led the party to win 10 seats. And of course followed by the UP, which won 8 seats. And Kairaba Jawara was appointed as the Minister for Education here in this country. In the 1962 general election, he also led this party for the second time, and the party won 18 seats, while the UP won 13 as the second leading party here in the country during the colonial period. And Kairaba Jawara was appointed as the prime minister of this country in 1965. And the party continued to dominate the Gambian political activities until in 1970, when Kairaba Jawara became the first president of the Republic of the Gambia. 1970, he became the president. And when he became a president, or before he became a president in the early 1960s, when he was a prime minister. And of course, he also tried to transform this country into a republic at the beginning, but he failed at that time. But he did not give up. He continued until 1969. He went for a referendum, and he won the referendum with an overwhelming victory. And then the Gambia now became a republic under the leadership of Kairaba Jawara in 1970. And when he became a president at that time, he brought in many development here in this country, because in the colonial period, only few schools were built. But when he became a president in this country, he built many schools across the length and the breadth of the country. He was giving textbooks or learning materials or equipment to our Gambians to learn. And of course, when he became a president, he developed our agricultural sector. He gives seed, subsidies, fertilizers and manures to our farmers to farm, because he believed in agriculture. That's why the party emblem of PPP was a hoe, and the hoe symbolized agriculture. He was giving seedlings, fertilizers, manures to our farmers to engage in agriculture, because he realized it's the only solution for this country, agriculture. That's why at that time when he was a president, there was Jahali Pacha rice field, where our people were farming. We are able to feed ourselves at some point. When he was a president at that time, or when the Gambia became an independent state, Kairaba Jawara also invest in the area of infrastructure. Roads were built. Vehicles were introduced such as the buses to ease the movement of the Gambian people from one part of the region to another, done by Great Sir Dawda and his government. And of course, he did not stop there. He also invested in the area of health sector. During the colonial period, only few hospitals, if not 2 hospitals, were built in this country for a period of 400 years. That angered him greatly. When he came into power, he built many hospitals in this country and equipped them with medicines, with what? Health facilities, and will train nurses and doctors. This was Kairaba Jawara. Kairaba came into limelight of the Gambian history as a result of when he was handed over a party called the People Protectorate Party, which was led by Sanjay Bojan before Kairaba Jawara. And he was the first Gambian to lead this country into independence. That's why he ruled this country for a period of 32 years until when he was overthrown in 1994. Kairaba Jawara. What are the contributions of Kairaba Jawara towards the developments of this country? What are the ways in which he contributed towards the developments of the Gambia? One of the ways was stable economy. When he was a president, there was nothing like inflations and deflation. Price of goods and service were not skyrocketing. Everything was smooth. The price of goods and service were relatively very cheap. Life was nice here. Goods can be affordable by the average Gambians. So it was a great development in the part of Kairaba Jawara. For a period of 32 years, he stabilized the economy of our country. And of course, too, he encouraged or promoted multi-party democracy. He allowed many political parties to be established under his watch, such as the National Convention Party, such as the National Liberation Party, such as the PDOIS were all established when Kairaba Jawara became the president. He promoted what he called a multi-party democracy. He allowed many political parties to be established here in this country as a development of Kairaba Jawara. Another great development or significant development done by Kairaba Jawara was he also promoted what he called, or he respected fundamental human rights. The right to life, right to liberty, freedom of slavery, freedom from forced labor, freedom from inhuman treatment were respected by this great man, or by this elder statesman called Kairaba Jawara. The fundamental human rights of our people were respected by Kairaba Jawara. So this was a development that he did when he was president here in this country. That's why the people of this country allowed him to rule or to stay for long in power, a period of 32 years. The other great development, which was done by this great man over there, the picture called Kairaba Jawara, was he led this country into the attainments of independence. The British or the European powers, they came down to the Senegambian region. They divided the Gambia and Senegal into two, and because of the Atlantic Ocean, they had an interest here in this country. They came and stayed here in the island called Batos. They captured this country and ruled this country for a period of 400 years. And when Kairaba Jawara acquired with educations and he came, he was the flag bearer of the People Progressive Party. Then he led our country into the attainments of independence. So which was a great fundamental development which was done by this great man called Kairaba Jawara. That's why we are never and ever going to forget about him. He's still with us because of his tremendous achievement, because of his significant and unremarkable achievement that he has done here in his country in his lifetime. Another great development was the attainment of Republican status. In 1969, he tried all possible means to make the Gambia as a republic. That's why he took the Gambia into a referendum in 1969. And in this referendum, he won this election with an overwhelming victory. And the Gambia became a republic on the 24th of April, 1970, still under leadership or the able leadership of this great man called Kairaba Jawara, an elder statesman. These are some of the developments that he did here in this country in his lifetime when he was a president of this country, the great Kairaba Jawara. And of course, we look at the reason for the success of Kairaba Jawara. Why did he stay in power for long? Why was it, or what are the reasons why he succeeded here in this country? There are many reasons. There are many things that he did here in this country. That's why he succeeded. One of the reasons that led to the success of PPP and the government of Kairaba Jawara was the party emblem. The symbol of a party was wool, and wool symbolized agriculture. Most of the people here in the Gambia at that time, during the colonial period, were farmers. That's why they realized this man called Kairaba Jawara is very interested in agriculture. That's why they supported him. The reasons for the success of Kairaba Jawara. There are many reasons that led to the success of this great man and his political party called the People Progressive Party. One of the reasons was the party emblem. In the party emblem, or the symbol of the party, it symbolized a hoe. And most of these people in this country at the time in the Gambia, they were farmers. And because of the party emblem is a hoe, they supported Kairaba Jawara and his political party. That's why he served as the longest serving president right now in this country. As a result of, most of our people were farmers. And of course too, the liberal character of Kairaba Jawara. He was a tolerant leader, and he was willing to forgive his enemies at that time. He treated all people equally, very friendly. That's why most of the people in this country, they supported him and his political party, and that's why he was able to stay in power for long. As a result of his character, he was a liberal character. He was a tolerant leader by allowing people in this country to live in unity and harmony without any disturbance, without any destabilization in this country, Kairaba Jawara. And of course, the other reasons that leads to the success of PPP government and Salvador Kairaba Jawara as well was protectorate support. Most of the people that were supporting him were the people from the provinces at that time. That's why the party emanated from the provinces. That's why the name of the party was called People Protectorate Party. But it was when it was handed over to Kairaba Jawara, he decided to change the name to People Progressive Party. But most of the people at the province at that time were the ones supporting him. They supported him greatly, and in fact, because he was brought up by at Batos, the people of Banjul at that time, they also supported him greatly, which also helped him and his party to continue to rule this country for decades of years. The other significant reasons why Kairaba Jawara and his people succeeded in this country was the support from the eminent Gambian or the prominent Gambian. Most of the prominent businessmen here in this country at that time, They were the ones supporting Kairaba Jawara and his political party. They sponsor him financial wise. They give him all the necessary support. Because he was born in Jare at the provinces, he came and he was brought up in Batos, and the party was owned by the people of the protectorate. So he was having that relationship, that rapport with the great businessmen. They supported him and his party. That's why he was able to rule in this country for a period of time. And of course, Kairaba Jawara also succeeded in this country as a result of his what? Work experience. Because he traveled in different countries or to different countries to land and of course acquire skill. He traveled to Ghana at the Achimota College. He traveled to Scotland in the Edinburgh University. He also traveled to Glasgow University. So he was able to build a relationship. As a result, he was able to have a lot of experience. That's why when he came, they realized that this man was a man with great experience and intellect. They handed over the party to him, and he ran the party and became the flag bearer and lead his country into attainment of independence on 18th February 1965. And of course, the other reasons why Kairaba Jawara also succeeded here in this country is as a result of international support. Because he was having international relationship. He built mutual and cordial relationship with the international or with the outside world. So which also helped him greatly to succeed here in this country as the leading political party and of course as a leading figure of this country. That was also a reason why he succeeded here in this country. So this is just a brief introduction about this great man, this unforgettable leader, a leader who led this country into the attainments of independence, a Gambian who fought for years for the attainments of this little country's independence, a person who fought the Europeans to grant us our independence, and there is no other person than Kairaba Jawara. That's why even at his demise, we still remember him. That's why this conference is built to remember him. That's why before you enter in this conference, you see his picture. A great man, a nationalist, a politician, and of course a patriotic, a Pan-African, Kairaba Jawara. He was a great man. He was an elder statesman, Kairaba Jawara. The greatest African leaders that black Africans have ever produced was Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah was born in Ghana. And of course, after completing his primary and senior school in Ghana, Gold Coast, he traveled in 1935 in the United States of America. And of course, after graduating, he lectured at the Lincoln University in America. Kwame was inspired by Marcus Garvey's philosophy for no other salvation for the Negro, but through a free and independent African state. He soon involved into active politics. Then he became the first vice president of the West African Student Union, WASU. And of course, Kwame played a very important role in Ghana's politics. That's why he became the first prime minister and the first president of Ghana. He led this country into the attainments of independence in 1957, being the first British colonists in West Africa to attain their political independence, then followed by Nigeria under the leadership of Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria. Then Kwame's political activities in 1950 make him to be imprisoned at Fort James Prison in 1950. And of course, Kwame also played a very important role in the formations of the international organization called the OAU, because he was among those African leaders who attended the formations of the OAU in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And of course, he also encouraged women to take active part in politics. And then he won the Lenin Peace Prize of 1963. And Kwame also played a significant role in order to promote or in order to eradicate colonialism in Africa and of course in Ghana. He encouraged Ghanaians or African people to come together and form one continental organization and of course one government with the use of one currency. He was determined to emancipate Africa from colonial rule and of course unite her in a common cause. That's why he was fighting for the independence of Ghana, not only Ghana, but the entire continent of African people. And in fact, he inspired many African leaders. Among them, it includes Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria. Among them, it includes Sekou Touré of Guinea Conakry. Among them, it includes Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Among them, it includes Sir Milton Magai of Sierra Leone. They are all inspired by Kwame Nkrumah's struggle to unite African people to live under one government, to use one currency, and of course to live under one umbrella. And that's why Kwame Nkrumah was ousted from power until his death in 1972 at the age of 62. So this was the great Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. He was a bona fide citizen of Ghana, and of course after completing his primary and senior school educations in Ghana, Gold Coast, he then traveled in 1935 in the United States of America. And after graduation, he lectured at the Lincoln University. And then he also traveled to London. He became into the limelight of politics when he started to follow Marcus Garvey. And he was inspired by Marcus Garvey's philosophy for no salvation for the Negro, but through an independent country for the black people. Then Kwame was determined to see or to emancipate African people to live under one government. So this was great Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. So he played an active role in the attainments of many independence or many countries' independence. He inspired them. He instigated confidence in our African leaders. That's why even his demise, the people of Ghana and the people of Africa at large are unable to forget this great man. Because of his tremendous job, because what he have done for this country. That's why he was described as the greatest son of Africa. That's why he was described as a patriotic son. He was a Pan-African, a nationalist, and of course an anti-colonialist. This was a gist about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. Edward Francis Small, a great nationalist who was born in 1891, educated in Batos and of course Freetown. And of course, he was the father of the Gambian politics. He was also described as the elder statesman, a doyen of the Gambia, and also described sometimes as the watchdog of the Gambia. Edward Francis Small came into Gambian politics as a result of, or due to the colonial period, when the Gambia was being colonized by the European powers, such as the British here at that time. As being the few educated elites here in this region, he was helping the farmers as well as the workers. That's why at the time he was organizing evening classes for the people at the villages or at the provinces at the time. In 1917, he formed the Gambia Farmers Cooperative in order to bring all the farmers here in this country together to avoid them being exploited by the colonial power, that is the British at that time. So E.F. Small in 1922, he established the Gambian Outlook and the Senegambia Reporter newspaper in order to help to reach his supporters or to reach some of his Gambian, even when he was in exile at Senegal. He was using this newspaper called the Gambian Outlook and the Senegambia Reporter to reach the people, to teach the Gambian people about the evils and the dangers of colonialism. And of course, in 1929, he established a trade union called the Batos Trade Union. And this trade union led the first successful strike here in this country with the slogan called "No taxation without proper representation." Because the workers at Batos at that time were being exploited by the colonial government. Their salaries and wages were cut off by half. There was high standard of living. The price of goods and services at that time were skyrocketing, which angered the workers at that time, and Edward Francis Small, he led these people into a strike. And their slogan was, "No taxation without proper representation." The government people should not pay tax until and unless they know where the money of the taxpayers have been spent. And it was in this strike when many people were killed by the colonial government. Many shops were burned down, many properties were destroyed. And then the agitators or the people who were engaged in strike and the colonial government, they reached a compromise, and then Small became a hero. And in 1930, he formed what he called the Ratepayers Association here in this country. And Small became the first Gambian to be elected in the House of our Representative. And Small, he helped many Gambians to sit in the House of Legislature at that time. And of course, in 1920s, he formed the Gambia branch of British West Africa when he represented this country into a congress which was held in Lagos, Nigeria. The contributions of Edward Francis Small in the political, social, and the economic developments of our country. What are some of the ways in which Edward Francis Small contributed towards the political, social, and of course the economic developments of our country? The watchdog of the Gambia, Edward Francis Small. One, he was the first Gambian to be elected in the Legislative Council. The first Gambian to win seat and to be elected in the Legislative Council was Edward Francis Small. And part of his contribution was he helped many Gambians also to sit in the House of Legislature. And of course, 3, he founded the Barrows Trade Union in 1929. 4, he founded and edited the first newspaper here in this country called the Gambia Outlook and the Senegambian Reporter, to help him to reach his supporters, to help him to educate the Gambian people, to help him to make the Gambian people to be aware and conscious about the evil and the dangers of colonialism. And small also part of his contribution, he formed the Gambia branch of British West Africa. And of course, small, in 1917, he established what they call the Gambia's Farmers Corporations to help the farmers to come together. 1917, small founded the Gambia Farmers Corporations, bringing the Gambian farmers together to avoid them being exploited. And of course, small also founded the Gambia Outlook and the Senegambian Reporter newspaper. And of course, in 1930s, he founded the Red Players Association. He also instigated many Gambians, or he also inspired many Gambians to take part in Gambian politics. So this is Edward Francis Small, who is described as the elder statesman. This was Edward Francis Small, described as the knowing or the father of Gambian politics. This was Edward Francis Small. So this is all about Edward Francis Small, a great Gambian nationalist, and of course a patriotic son of the land, a philanthropist, a politician, a Pan-African of course, a man who loved a country, a man who loved the entire continent of the black people, a man who loved the black race. He struggled for the independence of our country. In as much as he was at exile in Senegal, he was still fighting for the independence of this country. He was never tired. His mission was to see the Gambia being free from colonial rule. And that's why he struggled for the independence of our country until when he died in 1958. May his soul rest in perfect peace. This was Edward Francis Small, also part of the great African nationalists. He can't be forgotten. He's gone, but we can't forget him. Kairaba Jawara is gone, but we can't forget them. These are called patriotic sons of this land. Mother Africa is great for these people because they play a very important role in the developments of our country, including Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. Among the African leaders that we are going to discuss, Historic TV, it includes Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. We will also look at Modibo Keita of Mali. We will also look at Sekou Touré of Guinea Conakry, Nami Azikiwe of Nigeria. We also look at Sir Milton Magai. We look at Leopold Sedar Senghor of Senegal, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela of South Africa. We also look at Flex Boigny. We also look at many and many more African leaders to be discussed in Historic TV Live. Please subscribe, please comment, and please be watching our videos. These are fascinating and of course interesting history that each and every African, each and every Gambian is required to know, because this is concerning about Africa and of course about the Gambia. So thank you so very much. This is Historic TV. And of course, this is Historic TV, giving you a gist about, a flavor about Edward Francis Small and some of the African nationalists. And of course, we will be dealing with, or we are going to discuss more about African nationalists, ranging from Kwame Nkrumah, which we discussed,